Here we go, here we go, here we go, here we go. This is it.
This is Top Flight Time Machine. I am Andy Hot Body Dawson. Pow, pow, pow.
I am Sam Nifty Delaney. So what?
This is another one of them episodes that we're trying to record on video and going to put on YouTube. And if you want to go to the YouTube, you'll have seen me throw what I can only describe as some shapes when I did pow, pow, pow. So that's a bit of bonus stuff for you there. Go across to our YouTube channel, subscribe, etc., and watch that play out in real time. It's Friday morning episode. Doing it on Friday morning for once. Normally do it in advance, but for various reasons we're not. So there you go.
It's quite nice to do it on a Friday morning because we've all got those Friday vibes about us. Usually we haven't.
Yeah, you got the sun shining down there, streaming into the Vita modular. That's nice. We've got rain up here.
I've been out running in the park this morning in Richmond Park, up on the hill, and it couldn't have looked more autumnal with that blaze of autumn sunshine coming through all the brown leaves.
Oh,
but it was like when the run started, there was almost like a hint of like, you know, steam coming from my mouth.
Nice.
But by the end, it was getting like quite warm. And I was like, what a perfect. And I've started to run without my headphones in. Because, just to sort of like drink it in a bit more. Do you know what I mean? Like, especially when you're somewhere beautiful, like listen to the birds and stuff. And it really helps. So, it's getting a bit too warm now. But one thing I noticed when I was in the park this morning was the squirrels are very bold. They were jumping around. I came across 3 or 4 of them, and they were it was in a very quiet spot. And I didn't think they expected a human to see them. And it was like they were having a fucking disco. Like literally, brilliant. They were hopping and jumping around more like rabbits than squirrels.
Can I just stop you there? I'm going to announce now. I'm going to name this episode Squirrel Disco.
Yeah.
You all right with that?
Yeah, that's fine. But I did think of something. I thought I'll run this by Andy later because I thought I'm sure squirrels weren't this bold before. Same with foxes, which we've talked about.
Same with seagulls, mate.
Yeah, they've all become more bold. And do you know what? I was thinking, when did they start to become more bold and why? And then I worked it out. It's the financial crisis, 2008.
Oh, I thought you were going to say lockdown.
No, it was long before that. It all started. I barely had seen a fox in London. 2008, the financial crash. Suddenly, foxes are everywhere, not just at night, sometimes in the daytime, wandering around like they own the place. Squirrels, quite secretive animals traditionally, not anymore, constantly out performing. Seagulls nicking things from supermarkets, nicking everyone's chips. In 2008, capitalism showed the first signs that it was collapsing, and with it, and with it, human civilization. Right, the nature and these animals, they observed that, and they were right. They've had it all their way since the Industrial Revolution. The humans, right, and they've been smug and they've been complacent, and they think they've had it made. Right, they think that they have conquered nature with their machines and their money. Right.
Yeah.
But then there was the subprime mortgage crisis, wasn't there? Right. And everything went tits up. Thank God Gordon Brown saved us from complete collapse. But the writing was on the wall. And to be honest, the human race has been stumbling ever since that point. Think of it. 2008, things were still right. Ever since that happened, we've been stumbling from one crisis to another. You know, society, the economy, everything's been in a downward trajectory. The animals can see that, and so they're bolder, they're more confident. They can see that we, the humans, are vulnerable. They suspect we're on our way out.
I think it can take us.
They're ripe. They're ripe for the taking. That's what they're saying. At the moment, there are no signs that these different sectors, the squirrels, the seagulls, and the foxes, are prepared to work together. And that's crucial, because the moment at which they say, do you know what? If we teamed up, we'd be unstoppable. We're fucked. At the moment, they're all doing their own thing. And
they're going to
be the reason we're still here.
They're going to be looking at lockdown that I mentioned, and they'll be looking at the trend for home working and all the empty offices.
Yeah.
They're going to be thinking we can be in those empty offices and tower blocks in central London. We can be in there scurrying about doing whatever we want, building little dens underneath desks that aren't being used
Scuttling through the
anymore,
ventilation system.
in and out the aircon. Yeah.
Yeah.
And who wouldn't? I would.
I fucking would.
I'm
in
not a
flash.
squirrel.
I've thought about it. I mean, as podcasters, full-time podcasters, I would say that we're halfway between humans and wildlife.
Yeah.
So we're on the cusp. And that's why I feel like when I run in the woods and I see I sort of think it's okay, my furry little friends. I'm only half human. Yeah, I'm a full-time podcaster.
I am almost manimal.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm like, well, the likes of me and you and all the other podcasters out there, whether that be Peter Crouch or Fern Cotton from
Ed Gamble,
all these people, right? We've got a decision to make. Whose side do we pick? A side, motherfucker, as they say.
Do we have to?
Yeah, we have. Well, at some point, I'm not saying you have to right now, but it's something worth like ruminating over for a while. And when you describe what it could be like taking over the empty office blocks in the center of town, I'm thinking I wouldn't mind being on that side, because I've been looking at those myself. On the rare occasion I have to venture into the center of London these days, I do have a look and I wonder what's going on in there. Wouldn't it be nice to set up a nest, a man nest?
It would have to be a nest if we're going to do pods in there as well, because those empty, cavernous, open plan offices aren't going to be very good for doing podcasts.
Terrible acoustics.
Spacious.
Yeah.
I don't know if anyone follows on Twitter, but I posted a picture of my studio, my pod rig.
I saw that. I loved it. Yeah.
For everyone to have a bit of it's a little bit like that moment in The Wizard of Oz when the curtain goes back and everyone realizes that it's actually just a shambolic operation that's been run. But yeah, that's the ideal, and what they've got in them big cavernous offices, too big. We'd need, like you say, make a nest, make pod nests. We could get one floor of an office and get all the big podcasts in there.
Yeah,
in little nests dotted all over.
All live together, and maybe just exchange services. And and maybe, I don't know what you think about this, just floating it. Do you imagine seeing it being the sort of thing where we're all allowed to take several wives?
I was just going to come to that. I hope so. Yes.
Right. Okay. Good. I thought you could come into that.
I get first dabs on the scummy mummies.
Yeah. You married both of them.
Yeah. Why not?
They seem like nice enough ladies, don't they?
Yeah. Well, self-proclaimed scummy.
Yeah.
There's an edge to it.
Suits us. Yeah.
Getting on to that kind of talk and territory, there's a big documentary on Saturday night on Channel 4, Dispatches.
Oh, yeah, you texted me about this. I saw that this morning.
They haven't announced exactly what the subject's going to be, but it purports to be about various people in comedy, or maybe just one person.
Is that what the word is on Twitter?
Yeah, it seems to be. It's 95 minutes long, and the word seems to be there's more than one expose going to happen, and it's going out at 11, I think, or 10 to 10, just before the Sunday papers drop. So it could be massive. It could just be one of them things that's a bit, tittle-tattly and is full of stuff that seems a bit shocking, but kind of isn't really. Or, one or two people might get completely blown out the water. I don't know.
I'm just texting now. I forgot we're on video, so people will think, look, there's Sam texting. But I'm texting some in the nose, some Fleet Street ITKs to see what comes back. So if I can get breaking news while we're recording, that would be great. Yeah, but
obviously,
I won't name names.
See any names?
I'll drop some big clues.
Obviously, Monday's episode we'll be like, oh yeah, well, we knew that. Yes,
it's important, of course, to feel as if we knew first.
We've known all those stories as well for many years.
There's a couple of the sources replying. When you can see it says typing.
Oh, already brilliant. I've had a name from a source within the television industry.
Yeah, I mean that name you gave me is like certainly lots of that's been going around for a long time.
Well overdue.
Overdue. My sources are, and there's another couple of very famous people who it's like an open secret about, and I guess you know, legally they've had things tied up for a number of years, in some cases over a decade. But in the end, if someone's been dogged enough to keep going in spite of all the various injunctions and whatnot, eventually,
NDAs,
yeah,
that.
eventually you'll.
And in the end, you just said there. And in the end, the love you take is equal to the love you make. As the Beatles said.
Yeah, that's true.
Or make and take. I can't remember which one it is, but I mean, you know, that says it all, really. I think. I've got the snooker on in the background, Sam. It's the one of the very few tournaments of the year that begins at 7 a.m.
Where is it?
Where's China? The Shanghai Masters.
Oh, it's got a ring to it, hasn't it?
There's something really special about 7 a.m. snooker. I was in bed this morning watching it from my bed, and it's Ronnie O'Sullivan versus Mark Selby, 4-4. It'll go on right through till this afternoon, and I've cleared my diary. Let's just say that. I've got some light admin to do.
It's like foreign World Cups, isn't it?
Yeah. Unusually timed sport. Brilliant.
You know, like in the Japan and Korea World Cup, there were kickoffs at like 7, weren't there? 7 in the morning. England.
Yeah.
I'm
maybe
pretty sure
about 11.
England played Brazil. England played Brazil. No, it was earlier, I'm sure.
Oh, it was like 8 or something, wasn't it?
Yeah,
the pubs were
England
open.
Played Brazil in the quarterfinal. And I had a job, I think, but I you know, like I just was like, obviously I won't be coming in. Do you know what I mean?
Of course, yeah.
But those were the days. I'm not sure if that would work now, but back in those days, you're like, oh, obviously I'm not coming in. It's the football. I don't. Oh well, we need you. I don't care about that. It's the World Cup. I can't imagine being. I mean, yeah. I mean, in those days when you're younger, you just go, it's the World Cup, and you expect almost bosses and colleagues to understand that trumps everything else. Do you know what I mean? It's the World Cup. Yeah. Don't be a silly cunt. I'm not coming in.
Everything's shutting down, isn't it?
I had this little flat on Westbourne Grove in London, and I go to my mates, come over. I'm going to lay on a massive fucking breakfast. And I did a huge fry up and loads of fucking beer. We even had a bottle of champagne ready for should England win, which they didn't, but we drank anyway.
Quarter final.
But yeah, exactly. Against Brazil. Yeah, I mean, we were just paralytic drunk. There was no going into work after that. It's like the weird feeling of being like, it's 10 o'clock and you're already fucking hammered. Like you're in your own flat and you're all over the place. So I mean, the only day.
What do you do the rest of the day? What do you do?
You just have to go to sleep. It's horrible. And then you wake up feeling hungover at like lunchtime.
And then start drinking again? I don't know.
Yeah. It's sort of like kind of Christmas Day vibes. Christmas Day used to be like that for me. But even then, not that early. I mean, I wouldn't be absolutely hammered by 10 a.m. Because you wouldn't even be up that early because you'd have been pissed up on Christmas Eve. So, yeah, early World Cup drinking is the most dangerous drinking there is. And that's why I would always hope that they wouldn't make the mistake of giving a World Cup to somewhere so far-flung ever again.
Yeah. Well, it happens when you get the Olympics in Australia or the Commonwealth Games, places like that, and the coverage is on through the night, but then it goes on through into the
it's the same thing. You go, oh, hang on, 6 a.m. International Olympic Badminton, right? Get the fucking beers in. I'm going to get
the lads round.
I'm going to call all my mates. We're going to get them round. We're going to get a load of gack, and we're going to get some prostitute. And that's what I'd do. You know, I remember what Olympics are we talking about here? Maybe the Atlanta, the Seoul. I can't remember. Get a load of prostitutes, all different types, different specialisms, loads of coke.
Dude, different disciplines.
Yeah. And you'd just take it from there, and you'd all watch the badminton, and you'd be shouting and singing. And sometimes I'd turn the music down at the badminton, but I'd have loud, like, house music blaring in the background whilst we watched the badminton. And you'd never take your eyes off the badminton, but you would be drinking, doing drugs. You'd be doing sexual acts with prosers, all of that stuff. But that's the Olympics, isn't it? That was what the Olympics was like in the 90s.
Yeah, like the Wolf of Wall Street, pretty much.
It was, yeah. They should make a film about it.
But getting back to prostitutes, that this documentary that's going to be on, there was someone's posted a thing on Twitter which is from the Digital Spy Forum, and it's something that someone sent into from an entertainment blind site, which I don't think it's blinds on your window. It's people that submit things anonymously about gossip and stuff. And it says such and such have been working on an undercover expose documentary that's going to get an obscene amount of high-profile comedians cancelled, like beloved comedians from late 80s, 90s, noughties, including some have already been cancelled. Some are going to get re-cancelled.
You can't get double cancelled, can you?
Cancelled harder. I don't know. We'll find out.
You cancel them, then you invite them back, and then you cancel them again.
Yeah.
For added
you de-cancel them just for a couple of seconds, but then you re-cancel them, but to a stronger degree. I think that's how it works. Footage collection started around 2020, so this has been going on a while. It contains proof of a variety of comedians slash comedic actors, both male and female, being racist, sexist, homophobic, using drugs, sleeping with prostitutes, money laundering through movies, and cheating on their spouses.
Wow.
Sleeping with prostitutes feels a bit news of the world 1985.
It does a bit. Yeah, I mean, is it? I mean, we'll have to sort of obviously hold our opinions back until we've seen all this. But I agree with you there. Yeah. As you read out that list of things, it feels like it could spill into like a new form of Puritanism, right?
Yeah.
Because all of those things, I mean, you know, if there's someone who's been abusive, then they need to be called out on that. But when you talk about people who've done drugs or cheated on their spouse or slept with prostitutes or any of these things, you've got a conflict there, because we also live in a world that is trying to be more sympathetic to people's mental health. And a lot of those things seem like symbols of someone going through some sort of terrible crisis. And perhaps if they're historical, it's like, here is a crisis that they went through in their life, you know, and we're gonna. So I think those sorts of things, like, you got to tread very carefully. It's different to when, you know, the extreme stories of exploitation and abuse that you might hear about Harvey Weinstein, to use an extreme example, you know, or like someone like fucking Jimmy Savile. That's different. But when journalism is ploughing a lot of effort into basically almost standing in moral judgment of people.
Yeah.
And you could say, oh, yeah, but some of these things are illegal, right? Well, yeah, they are. But I mean, for fuck's sake, you know, a lot of people have ended themselves up found themselves in a fucking mess. And then maybe they've got out of it, or maybe they're not and they need help. But it's different between that and abuse, isn't it?
If you're going to expose comedians who've done drugs, then we're going to be here all day.
Yeah, I know. And also, the other thing about it is that we're like, you know, it's like Noel Gallagher said all those years ago, having a pill is like having a cup of tea. It's sort of like, he was the first sort of public figure to just fucking say that, because before that, pop stars, even like fucking members of the Faces or Led Zeppelin or whoever, would give interviews in which they would still feel as if they had to play a game, where they had to hide the fact. They had to be quite judgmental about drugs. Or all those gay pop stars who had to pretend they weren't gay for years, right?
Yeah.
And we live in a world now where no one is surprised and no one gives a fuck, right, about most of this stuff. People give a fuck about someone being abusive and exploitative. That's different.
Exactly.
So, but I suspect, I don't know anything about it.
We'll see. But
if it's the sort of stuff what I've heard over the years, and I don't think it's like a big secret, but, you know, I've had lots of stories that I've seen, you know, a couple in particular of extremely high profile comics. And, you know, there was a number of injunctions and NDAs and payoffs about things that were, like sexual abuse, effectively. Sexual abuse and bullying. Sexual bullying.
Bullying.
And
is that one of the disciplines that the prostitutes do?
Yeah. I mean, from a victim's point of view, I enjoy sexual bullying.
I'll have 25 minutes of sexual bullying, please, love.
Believe me.
Just 25.
Insult me. Laugh at my penis. That's my favourite. Oh, that's extra, is it? All right. How much?
I thought that would be standard once you've seen it.
Most ladies do it for free, to be honest. Yeah, so we'll wait and see. But I
We'll wait and
reckon
see.
it's probably the two guys who people have been talking about for years.
Yeah, but what I did notice is that it probably isn't going to be George Michael, because there's a long new George Michael celebratory documentary on Channel 4 just before this Dispatches thing Saturday night. So gonna be a good night's viewing, I reckon.
The tabloids will be fucking lovely about George Michael now, and
Oh,
forget
yeah.
about the fact they fucking hounded him and made his life a misery for most of his career for no good reason. Well, largely because he was gay. Do you know what I mean? Gay and like smoking weed. I mean, for fuck's sake, that to me sounds like a couple of like smashing personality like traits that would advertise someone as a great potential mate to hang out with.
And look at us now, both wearing his glasses.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
What an influence.
Yeah.
So have we finished that bit now?
I can't remember. There was something else I was going to add.
Did your colleague contact source get back to you with anything?
No, he said he doesn't know. But that's just one source. I'll carry on. Do you know what? I might not. I might just wait for it to be a bit of a lovely surprise.
Like
I doubt I'll watch it. To be honest, for me personally, we're talking about here, but those kind of things, I don't really seek them out, because there's only two things. One is I either end up feeling, if I feel like it's someone who falls into the category of, well, that person's struggling with a fucking crisis here. Like, that's the way I felt about Hugh Edwards, for example. I thought, fucking hell, Hugh Edwards, what a mess. What a shame that a man has had to hide so much of himself, and he's obviously not in a good place. And now he's all this humiliation for his family and kids. I couldn't help but see it that way. And then the other thing, so it's either someone like that, who you think, oh God, there's going to be a pile-on on someone who's very vulnerable, right? And has just made some human mistakes that might be extreme and different to anything that we can personally relate to, but nevertheless. Or it's someone who absolutely is a fucking stone cold wrong'un. And then it's just like, oh, I just don't want to fucking hear about it. I'm not interested in the details. It's the same reason why I don't listen to true crime fucking podcasts. It's like, I hate hearing about murderers. I hate murder. It's a horrible thing. I've got no interest in it.
Yeah, I'm probably wired slightly differently here, because I'll be watching. It's got to be better match of the day, hasn't it?
Well, someone said to me the other day, right? They go, my trainer said to me yesterday, oh, do you watch the Premier League years or whatever? And I said, I haven't watched that in years. I didn't know it's still going. He goes, oh, the really good thing is, he said at the end of it, like, there's one now of last season, right? That's out, the one of last season. And I go, isn't the idea is they're nostalgic? He went, nah, not really. I mean, think about it. There's so much football on telly, you can never keep up. Match of the day is boring. He said, you can almost just not watch football, wait till the end of the year, and then they give you the whole season in 1 hour with a really good soundtrack, and along the way, little bits of news about, like, oh, it was this month that Boris Johnson resigned from Parliament. And you sit there and you just think, brilliant, this is on air. Because I don't watch the news, right? And I don't listen to news. I gave it up like a few years ago. I hate it. I am aware of news stories because you just, if you're on Twitter or whatever, you see them. And I do, look at the front pages sometimes. I've got like a couple of newspaper apps and I'll look at that. But I don't, I'm switched off from a lot of it, right?
Apart from watching it and having the apps.
No, what I mean is I don't watch the news. I don't watch any TV.
You don't sit down and watch the 10 o'clock news anymore.
I don't watch that, but I don't read the papers. And I don't listen to any news radio. And I don't listen to sport radio like TalkSport like I used to, because it's just too much shit, right?
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is I'm aware of the headlines. You're aware of the fact that I don't know. Like, I know about global warming.
You get enough to be able to pass comment on this podcast and sound vaguely authoritative.
Yeah, the bar's very low, thankfully.
That's all we need.
Like, no, basically, when I used to have to do work that involved me having to have some sort of like credibility, some vague credibility, then you sort of get locked into it and you feel like I need to stay abreast of it. And when I was younger, I was genuinely interested in that stuff. My degree's in politics. I've written a lot on stuff about current affairs and politics, and I was interested. And then a point came where I was just like, this is really bad, and it just does my fucking head in. And there's just more bad than good that comes from me staying in the know. Do you know what I mean? But the Premier League years appeals to me. I'm thinking
all the news you need.
Don't watch matches. I very rarely stay up for match of the day because it's too late for me anyway. and I can't be asked sitting through the long fucking bits of like punditry in between, right? There, I mean, I like Lineker and Mika Richards, all these people, but I just nothing against them personally, but I just find it quite.
I just started later and fast forward through that, and
if you watch it on iPlayer now, which they didn't used to have, but now you can watch it back on iPlayer.
But now you can, you while it's on, you can. I think I don't think you can watch it and catch up.
And so I might just like skip everything and wait till the end of the year and watch the Premier League years, and it's a surprise.
You kind of know when that Premier League review is going to be shown on Sky, because you'll see hermits in the streets coming out of their caves and heading towards some pub that's got Sky Sports on, because you know they're going there for their annual dose of the Premier League football and the last year's news updates.
That's what I want. That's what I aspire to be. But actually, I was telling this to Len today. I went, we should just watch this. It's a good way of like looking back on the year. And he went, hang on a minute, the Premier League years? I went, yeah. And he went, so they look back on old football, yeah. And then they chuck in a bit of the news, yeah. And some of the pop songs of the era,
pop songs.
He went, wasn't that the original idea for Top Flight Time Machine? And I went, yeah, it was actually. And he went, so why aren't you suing them? And I said, well,
because they did it first.
And in the remember the rock and roll years in the 80s?
Yeah.
It was the best show.
Yeah.
It was the best show there was.
Yeah.
And that's so we can't really lay claim to it.
No. I'm going to say something to you now. We're on 26 and a half minutes. I'm going to say something now which could see this podcast spiraling off towards a 50-minute mark. And it's down to you. Earlier in the week, you sent me a message and said, remind me to talk about the luxury of chaos.
Yeah. Well, I mentioned Len there, and I can be quick. At the time, it was just I was laughing so much at something he said.
10 to 15 minutes is fine if it's good.
I thought, I'll forget this. So sometimes I just text you and think, I'll forget it. But then sometimes you look back and think, oh, it wasn't as fun. In the moment, it made me laugh so much because he started secondary school, right? This is the end of his second week.
How's it going for him?
It's going all right. I'm really happy.
Good.
Yes, yesterday he couldn't go in because he was a bit ill. But other than that, I've been really, I was very nervous. I think we talked about it, right? I was much more nervous than him. I was trying to hide my nerves from him and even a little bit from my missus because she was pretty chill. But I was just really nervous, man. I couldn't help it. And and I'm really delighted generally with everything that's been going on. And he like loves it. But he comes back from school and I'm just fucking loving the stories, right? I'm fucking straight away. I'm like, this is content, not necessarily for the pod, content for my mind content, I call it, Andy.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Because obviously secondary school is really funny. And I want to know loads of shit. And also it amuses me to see him going into that world and wondering how he will respond and react to some of the things, right? So, for instance, like, I don't want to give away too much private stuff about him, but he's a little bit of a Puritan, right? He's a little bit of a Puritan. So if there's ever something on telly that's a little bit bawdy or risque, right, he'll be like, no, and not even have a joke about it, right? And his sister said to him, the main thing you've got to know. I said, what's the main thing you've got to tell him before he starts secondary school? She went, the main thing you've got to get your head around, right? The number one thing that you'll notice when you start there and you just have to get used to it really quickly is, she went, there are willies and balls drawn on absolutely everything.
Oh, is that a big no-no for him, is it?
Well,
even that.
She didn't know. She was just like, I don't know how you're going to react. She went, I remember when I started in year 7, I was pretty shocked. She went, because I'd barely seen a drawing of a Willie and balls before. She went, and suddenly I'd gone from hardly ever to 100% of the time. I couldn't look at any surface, right? Any desk, any book, anything without a Willie and balls on it. She went, and, you have to get used to that very fast. So I don't know how you're going to react, but just know that's what's going on, right? And he was like, just very serious, like, right, okay,
yeah. I'm ready.
Noted, right?
Yeah.
And so that's like that to me, like the madness of people's behaviour I remember I've talked about this on before. I remember I don't remember at primary school there being much mum cussing, right? I remember to the extent that I remember a couple of occasions on which people said something about my mum and it being huge, like nuclear, like I will fight you, I will kill you. Like one of those fights where it's like I'm prepared to like actually start biting off his fucking nose or something, right? And then what shocked me when I got to secondary school was the sort of casual way in which these things were just flung around, almost friendly. All right. Your mum's a fat slag.
Your mum's a sexual bully.
Yeah. All right. Well, one of the really bad ones that I don't even hear anymore because it's the most witless mum cuss, but was almost the most popular when I was at secondary school was this one. Your mum's dead. Right?
Oh,
but it was just really like casual.
Yeah.
Like someone would come up and do something like, say, like you were eating, they come up and some kid older than you just runs up and nicks a chip when you're in the canteen. Nick. And you go, oi. And they just go, like, your mum's dead, and eat the chip. And
whoa.
Right. And I'm like, what? And I'm like this. No, she's not.
Who told you?
No, you don't. You take that back. They're long gone laughing, eating their chip. I've got right inside his nut, fucking rent free.
The main thing about mums and parents was that we'd all go around calling each other by their parents' names.
Oh, I think
so you go up to your big, all right, Barry. Yeah. How you doing, Glenda?
That's like, see, that's the North is wittier. Because that's got a lot more wit and charm to it.
Yeah.
It's sort of like very subtle fucking dig in a way that you can't quite put your finger on.
Yeah.
Whereas that, like in London, it was just like, your mum's dead. Like I'd be told my mum's dead 4 or 5 times a day. And I'd be like, leave it out. And in the end, you just had to start, well, it's like you can't beat them, join them. And suddenly your mum cussing left, right, and centre. Anyway,
it would be enhanced if, for example, there was some kind of trait about one of them. So someone was like, fuck off, fat Margaret. You know, if Margaret, his mum was fat, you get that.
That's really
that was as much as we
honestly,
got.
I'd never heard that. You have told me that before, and I'd never heard that before. And there is something a little bit more high class about it. Like, there's an intelligence.
Oh yeah, it was a classy skill.
What I'm saying is, there's an intelligence to the insults. But anyway, this has got nothing to do with the luxury of chaos. This is just the sort of context of like me being amused by Len going into this new environment and coming back and me trying to get him to tell me things weird shit. And he did say a kid on the first day or second day, so this is an annoying kid. I got to sit next to him in a couple of classes. We had, look, we'd had a little bit of a disagreement on the first day. I go, what? He goes, well, we were in PE and I'm I'm getting dressed after PE. I'm getting back into my uniform. One of my socks is missing. I look at it, I can't see it. Anyway, I think it's dropped down between the benches. And this lad, the one who sits next to me, and I don't know, whatever subject.
Is this a kid who's new to him?
Yeah.
Know all.
It's all new kids. It's all new kids.
Yeah.
I mean, he's got a couple of mates there, but most of them are new. And he's gone, excuse me, I think you might have accidentally picked up my socks. And the kid's gone, what? He's gone, I think you might have picked up my socks and actually put them on. And the kid's gone like this to him, I didn't nick your socks. And he's gone, no, I'm not saying you nicked them. I'm not saying you nicked them. I'm just saying my socks are it's the first day.
Yeah, let's not escalate this.
Look, all I'm saying is my socks were rare. Now they're not. The gee's like, sorry, why would I nick someone's socks? It's the first day. Why would I nick someone's socks? There's no reason you would nick someone's socks. Yeah, so what are you saying then? I'm saying my socks might have fallen down to this. Look, we've all got black socks here. We've all got new black socks. Half of them are probably from Asda. Let's be honest. All our mums have shopped at the same places, right? Perfectly normal you'd have picked up my socks. All I'm saying is check for your own socks in your bag. Then you might realise if they're there, you've accidentally picked my socks up. Because I'm looking at a situation where I have to spend the rest of the day with my shoes
Sockless.
and no socks, right? And the guy's gone, I'm not checking my bag. I didn't nick your socks. And to be honest, I'm a bit, he's sort of gone, I'm a bit fucked off that you've accused me of this publicly. The reason I know this story is on the first day he comes home and I'm nervous. Like, oh, what's going to happen? You come home with bruises. All right. He's got the bus home, comes in the door. Go, all right, mate. All right. How's your day? Yeah, really good, actually. Really? I'm so pleased. Nothing to report? No drama? No. And then he goes, I'm just going to get changed. And he takes his shoes off. He's got bare feet underneath. What the fuck's this? What, you think you're in Duran Duran? No socks? Oh yeah, there was a situation in PE, and I ended up having to walk around most of the day with no socks on, but it's fine. I don't think anyone noticed. But anyway, that kid as well. I go, oh God, is that kid a bit of a nightmare now? He goes, yeah. The bad thing is I have to sit next to him a couple of lessons. I go, what's his name? He goes, well, he told me his name. I'm not going to say it now, but let's say his name's John.
Yeah.
He goes, my name's John, but most people call me Brainiac, right? And he wasn't joking. He was serious.
Fucking hell. It's laying down a nickname on day one.
He wants them to call him Brainiac.
Yeah.
Right. So we'll keep an eye on this.
Watch this space. Yeah. Yeah.
Luxury Chaos was Leonard Art the other day. And you know the way it is in school, especially when you're in year 7, right? They haven't got enough teachers. So I go, what was art like? He goes, it was all right. But to be honest, they didn't have an art teacher. Apparently, they're looking, but they haven't managed to hire one yet.
Looking.
Yeah, it is like that. It's really bad for schools because, teachers just drop out really early because it's so hard. And, it's just a tough fucking job.
They'll be scouring the closed branches of Wilco's.
Yeah. And he goes, I said, so we taught you then? They go, oh, they drafted in a maths teacher. I'm like, oh, fucking hell. Art used to be my favourite lesson because the teacher would always be a bit cool. And instead, you got the least cool sort of teacher, maths teacher.
Well, it's geometry, isn't it?
And he's gone, my name's Mr. Such and Such. Well, he goes, my name's Mr. Such and Such. I'm actually a maths teacher, but I will be teaching you art today. And they're like, oh, a bit weird. And he's really confident, like he's acting like, because obviously art's easy to teach. So he goes, okay, children, what I want you to do is draw a picture which begins with a simple thing, a line. And then he just sits back and reads his fucking paper. Right? And I thought, fucking... I said, is that all he said? He goes, yeah, start a picture. And I said, all pictures start with a line. All pictures start with... Did he say straight line or what type? No,
wavy, squiggly.
Everything's
circular.
A fucking line. All pictures are a collection of fucking lines. And I bet he thought he was well clever. And he said, yeah. He sort of said it as if he'd been like, this art stuff's fucking easy. I'm going to fucking come up with something better than an actual art.
Going to get him thinking with this one.
Yeah, I'm going to get him thinking. So I go, so what do you do? And he goes, I'll show you what I did. And he gets the picture out. And it's basically a fucking like mad, insane like thunderstorm, but like a tsunami. There are trucks flying in the air, animals everywhere. There are humans that have like almost their limbs have been torn off by the force of the storm, right? There's lightning, there's rain. It's chaos, right? There's buildings and cars smashed up. Loads of lines everywhere. But right in the center of the picture, there's a small circle. And within it, you can just see in the window of a tall building, right? And it's a penthouse apartment, right? And there's a man inside it just relaxing with a drink and watching TV. And it's a luxury apartment, right? And it's like, apparently, that building is so luxury that it's impervious to all storms or any kind of natural element, right? And so through this storm, you just see one guy. And I go, that's good. What do you call that then? And it was just the way I went, the luxury of chaos. And I was like, no.
I've said it before. I'm saying it again now. Len is going to go very, very far.
I was like, it's the way he like says it as if like, well, what do you think I fucking called it, you dope?
Yeah.
Right? Obviously. I call it luxury chaos. And he goes, and the teacher goes, I said, what's the maths teacher mean? He says he's come round, looked over my shoulder, he said, interesting. And that started with a line, did it? And I think Len sort of looked at him and went, oh, yeah. Like, look at it. There's loads of fucking lines there, isn't there? How many
One of them was the first one.
Yeah. And he went, what do you call it? And he goes, I just told him the luxury of chaos. I said, what do you say? He said, he just looked back at the picture, looked at me, and then just walked off. Like, he looked a bit grumpy.
Brilliant.
Yeah, so that's Luxury of Chaos, and it would have been a strong contender for the title of this podcast, but I think it is trumped just by Squirrel.
No, I'm changing it. I'm changing it. Luxury of Chaos.
Oh, you can put Squirrel Disco in the description
No, I
underneath.
can do what I want. I haven't finished recording it yet.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. We'll do some predictions before we go.
Mm.
Very quickly. Aston Villa versus Crystal Palace.
Aston Villa versus Crystal Palace. So I'm going first.
Yeah.
Interesting matchup. This. I'm going to say 1-0.
1-0. Aston Villa Crystal Palace. I think that will be 1-0 Villa. Spurs versus Sheffield United. 2-1 Spurs.
I'm going to have to say 2-0 Spurs, yeah.
Can I change mine? Can I go 3-1 Spurs?
Yeah.
West Ham versus Manchester City.
1-0 West Ham. I got to say it.
From the
It
top
probably
of
won't
the
happen.
league.
It probably
down
won't.
on everyone
Well,
else.
I think this is all I'm saying is that if we win this game tomorrow, then the title's in our own hands, isn't it?
Yeah, I would
It's
say
in
if you
our
win
hands.
it, then you're probably going to avoid relegation. But small
If we win the game, all we have to do is go about our business, and the title's ours. So
okay, just keep winning each game.
yeah.
QPR, Castellani's QPR, given their full title, versus Sunderland. I'm going to go for 1-1.
Oh man, I wish you were coming for that. That would have been brilliant. Because that's
I can't be asked.
Next time. Next time, if you don't get promoted, I mean, fucking QPR definitely aren't getting promoted, so there's no danger of that. QPR, Sunderland. Actually, QPR have had a couple of all right results recently. So I might say 2-1 QPR.
Okay. And Newcastle United versus Brentford, which is, of course, Result Spot's team. Newcastle. Saudi. Evil. Death cult.
I think that it's going to be... I think it'll be 2-1 to Newcastle. I'm
going to say 1-0 Brentford. I think Newcastle are in some kind of shit.
Yeah, I think Eddie Howe might be... Eddie Howe's going to be the next England manager, right? I know. And so he's like, he'll probably get sacked, and then Southgate will leave, and he'll just take that job. And so the endless, tedious merry-go-round will continue.
Will the entire nation not be enthralled to Ange Postecoglou by the end of the season? Because he seems to be everyone's favourite. I think he's brilliant, by the way. I'm not having a go at him at all. I think he's great.
Everyone loves him because he says
fresh air.
He says, mate.
People like him.
He says, mate, what are you talking about, mate?
Yeah. So how are you lining up the team for Saturday? What's your plan? Tell them to go out there and just have a go. Have a go at them.
I'm not sure. I mean, I'm not sure whether this will last.
I don't think it'll last, though. Spurs fans seem to be clinging to it like it's fucking the second coming. But
Spurs have had some quite easy games, and I saw them in a couple, and they don't recall that. And at the moment, it's easy for them to like him, seeming like kind of like really relaxed and lackadaisical, because they breezed through some fairly easy fixtures at the start of the season. But once things go bad, which they will, they'll all get fucking fuming about the fact they're fucking Australian. What we got fucking Australian for?
It feels a bit like Ozzy Ardiles' 1992 team. We had 5 strikers in it.
Yeah. Yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah. Anyway, fucking hell, nearly 45 minutes of this nonsense. We'll be back on Monday. We'll probably debrief about the Dispatches documentary and say, we told you so.
I knew. I'd known for years.
I just wasn't allowed to say anything. So thanks for listening and watching if you've been watching on YouTube. And goodbye.
Goodbye.